Well, my first guest tonight has been targeted by almost every major news organization in the country for speaking truth to power, which is, I thought, what we're supposed to do. Well, now he's been targeted by the FBI. Late last month, agents raided James O'Keefe's apartment, as well as the apartments of two of his journalists, in what appears to be a direct violation of the First Amendment. They even took personal notes from interviews. James is here with us tonight to tell us why that happened and to talk to us about how far journalism has slipped into the abyss. He's the author of a brand new, powerful book called American Muckraker. Would you welcome James O'Keefe? I think you're a little more popular here than you are in the halls of Congress in Washington.
Well, that's right. Well, I like operating behind enemy lines, including in New York State, where our office is headquartered.
You had the most bizarre thing happen to you a month ago. Your apartment was raided. Now, they didn't give you advance notice or call your attorney and say, look, we need to sit down in a conference and there's some things that we need to check out. So what happened?
Well, a source transmitted us Ashley Biden, the daughter of President Joe Biden's diary. We got that document sent to us. We tried to corroborate it. We failed. We tried to authenticate it. We could not verify it was hers. This was in about October of 2020. A year later, federal agents showed up at my door. There were about 10 to 12 of them. They had a battering ram at 6 a.m. They came into my apartment and raided my apartment, took my 2 iPhones, and put me in handcuffs, threw me against the hallway wall in my apartment building. It was terribly shocking. It was a violation of my constitutional rights. A federal judge in New York ordered them stop going through my phones. But this was so egregious that even the ACLU and the Reporters Committee came to my defense. And this wasn't just an attack against me. It was an attack against principles so fundamental in this country, the First Amendment. And what I've written in this book, which is about information they don't want you to have. We are independent journalists. We publish information, not the authorized information, because in our country, we have to have informed consent. So it was a terribly traumatizing experience, but we continue to do our work.
You have been targeted and sued on many occasions. You've never settled. That's never been your approach.
We've never lost a lawsuit. In fact, just this past year, we won a historic victory in a defamation case against the New York Times. We sued the New York Times for defamation, got past motion to dismiss. The judge in New York State arguing it was the New York Times that engaged in disinformation and deception against us.
James, what I don't understand, you did not release this diary that you could not authenticate.
Right.
So in other words, it's like no harm, no foul, because someone gave it to you, you didn't ask for it. As a journalist, it's not illegal for you to receive material, but you didn't publish it.
That's correct. It's kind of a dystopian nightmare, because what should I have done? I mean, if you stumble upon something and you look into it, your ethical responsibility is to try to corroborate it.
Yeah.
I failed to do that. At least I thought I failed to do that. I did not publish Joe Biden's daughter's diary. I did not know if the contents in the diary occurred, and I wasn't certain it was hers. So the question is, for the Department of Justice, Joe Biden's Department of Justice, is, what did you want me to do?
Yeah.
What would an ethical human being or journalist do? We did everything we could. We tried to give it back to Ashley Biden. They refused to receive it. I contacted Joe Biden for comment. Of course, they didn't want to give me a comment. So I returned it to law enforcement to make sure the diary went to its rightful owner. And then they raided my home. And it was terrifying. And I think that the Supreme Court of the United States has protected the right of a journalist in a Supreme Court case called Bartnicki v. Vopper, as you said, to receive documents. Even if the documents were stolen, we don't know if they were, we don't think they were. As long as I didn't participate in that theft, it's the right of a journalist to receive information from a source. So this is really about equality before the law. It was an attack against, again, principles. And if anything, it's emboldened us. Just last week, we released a document inside the Department of Defense showing how Anthony Fauci may have lied about gain-of-function research. So a lot of these whistleblowers I write about in this book, they've got nowhere else to go. They certainly can't go to the New York Times with their information. so they go to Project Veritas.
James, a lot of the things that you do with Project Veritas, you do with undercover journalists, and you have an ability to sit down and frankly get stuff out of people that is shocking. Whether it's a CNN producer who admits that there is a very focused and ordered bias within the network to go against conservatives. And then when you publish what is their own voices and their own video, pictures of them in person, they get mad at you rather than get mad at the people who are unethical.
That's right. That control room director we recorded inside CNN, his name was Charlie Chester, and he was on tape saying, we got Trump out. We use propaganda. In fact, Charlie Chester brags on the video, we want the deaths to be higher, more death numbers on CNN screen because that drives up ratings. And he says, fear sells. And it's all about fear.
Those are the actual words.
Those are
of
his
the CNN
words, not mine.
Yeah.
Now, I was banned from Twitter for quoting the man at CNN.
Whoa. That's why you got, I knew you were banned from Twitter.
That was the proximate cause of my being banned, those videos against the CNN control room director. And there's this, and if this sounds like science fiction, well, truth is stranger than fiction. There's a relationship between media and the government, pharmaceutical companies. There's this symbiotic relationship. And you can't trust journalists anymore to expose them. Has to be us, has to be outside, independent people who are free from these sorts of conflicts of interest.
Well, thank goodness you're there. In fact, I want to tell you, Twitter may ban you. We won't ban you here. We've got a lot more to talk about with James O'Keefe. We are going to keep him after the break. I know you want to hear more of what he's up to. I do, too. This is his book. We're going to be talking about that, but also why this matters to you.